Salam Saibama. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ma, do I have your permission to commence the program?
Okay. You can comment. You can comment. And
Okay,
you know where I am. I may not be able to contribute, but you can comment.
Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. With this, I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi to every one of us in this group today.
So I can't join the video.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. I want to implore every one of us as you are joining, please ensure we mute our video and we off our video and we mute our speakers. Mute the audio and off the video. We'll endeavor on our part to ensure that one is done. We are welcome to the first of its kind on Tarbiyah, and this is according to our program, the syllabus of Lajna Imailai, Nigeria. One of the topics we have raised in our syllabus for the year under our etiquette is fashion within the framework of Islam. And we have raised many topics under it. Today, we'll be looking at those topics, and I am glad to have every one of us here with us. We have the YouTube link for those who are not able to join via the Zoom. The YouTube link has been shared. Without much ado, I want to start the program with the permission of the Sadra Sahiba, and I want to call on Sister Alimo Aliu Bello. Before I go on, please forgive me, I did not wish every one of us Happy Workers' Day. May Allah make our work a beneficial one in this world as well as in the world to come. Amen. So we start the program with the recitation of the Holy Quran. This will be given to us by Sister Alimo Aliu Bello from Region 1. Sister Alimo Aliu Bello, because we are talking about fashion this time around. Sister Alimo Aliu Bello happens to be a manager with Oriflame Beauty and Wellness Company. And we have invited her, being an Ahmadi and a Latino member with us. We have invited her to give the recitation of the Holy Quran. Bismillah, Sister Alimo Aliu Bello.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I'll be reading Surah Al-Ahzab, Quran chapter 33, verse 60 to 64. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها النبي قل لأزواجك وبناتك ونساء المؤمنين يدنين عليهن من جلابيبهن ذلك أدنى أن يعرفن فلا يؤذين وكان الله غفورا رحيما. لئن لم ينته المنافقون والذين في قلوبهم مرض والمرجفون في المدينة لنغوينك بهم ثم لا يجاورونك فيها إلا قليلا ملعونين أينما ثقفوا أخذوا وقتلوا تقتيلا سنة الله في الذين خلوا من قبل ولن تجد لسنة الله تبديلا يسألك الناس عن الساعة قل إنما علمها عند الله وما يدريك لعل الساعة تكون قريبا صدق الله العظيم. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful. O Prophet, tell thy wives and thy daughters and the women of the believers that they should draw close to them portions of their loose outer coverings, That is nearer that they made us be distinguished and not molested. And Allah is most forgiving, merciful. If the hypocrites and those in whose heart is a disease, and those who cause agitation in the city desist not, we shall surely give thee authority over them. Then they will not dwell therein as thy neighbors, save for a little while. Then they will be accursed wherever they are found. They will be seized and cut into pieces. Such has been the way of Allah in the course of those who passed the way before, and thou wouldst never find a change in the way of Allah. Men ask thee concerning the hour, say, the knowledge of it is with Allah alone. And what Allah make thee know? And what will make thee know that the hour may be nigh? So for the privilege of those of us that don't understand the English, I would like to read the Yoruba transliteration, ma.
Okay.
Ní orúkọ Allah olóore ọ̀fẹ́ aláàánú jùlọ. Ìwọ ànábì sọ fún àwọn ìyàwó rẹ àti àwọn ọmọ rẹ obìnrin àti àwọn olùgbàgbọ́ òdodo pé kí àwọn aṣọ ìlékè wọn máa wà nísàlẹ̀. Èyí ni láò fi tètè mọ̀ wọ́n sọ́tọ̀ tí a kò yóò sì yọ wọ́n lẹ́nu. Allah sì ni olùdáríjìni jùlọ, aláàánú jùlọ. Bí àwọn alágàbàgebè àti àwọn tí àrùn ń bẹ lọ́kàn wọn àti àwọn ọlọ̀tẹ̀ nínú ìlú náà kò bá dẹ́kun, dájúdájú àwa yóò fún wọn láṣẹ lórí wọn. Lẹ́yìn náà wọn kì yóò gbé ibẹ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ bí aládùúgbò rẹ̀ bí kò ṣe fún ìgbà díẹ̀. Nígbà náà ni a ó fi wọ́n gégùn láyèkáyè tí a bá rí wọn. A ó mú wọn, a ó sì gé wọn sí wẹ́wẹ́. Irú èyí tí jẹ́ ọ̀nà Allah nípa àwọn tó ti ré kọjá níṣíwájú. Ìwọ kì yóò sì rí ìyàtọ̀ nínú ọ̀nà Allah. Àwọn ènìyàn ń bi ọ́ nípa wákàtí náà. Sọ wípé lọ́dọ̀ Allah nìkan ni ìmọ̀ rẹ̀ wà. Kí ni yóò sì mú ọ mọ̀ bí wákàtí náà bá súnmọ́? Òdodo ni ọ̀rọ̀ Allah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamu warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakallahu khairan jaza. May Allah continue to increase you in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding for that beautiful rendition from the Holy Quran. Alhamdulillah. We move on to chanting of Qasida, and I will call on Sister Adewusi Fatima from Region 10. Sister Adewusi Fatima is also into beauty, fashion, and wellness, and she's also a member of the group of Holy Flame Beauty and Wellness Company. So, Bismillah, Sister Adewusi Fatima. I can see her. She's not here again. Adewusi Fatima from Region 10. So can we call on somebody else then? If Adewusi Fatima is not here. Sister Farida Olulawal.
Yes, ma. Assalamu alaikum, ma.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Can you please give us the chanting of Qasida? Bismillah.
Bismillah. قصيدة قصائد جماعة محمد الأحمدية في نظم الإنسان. يا عين فيض الله والعرفان يسعى إليك القلب كالظمآن يا بحر فضل المنعم المنان تحوي إليك كالزمر بالكيزان. آمين.
Jazakumullah khaira, Sister Farid Ululawal. Even though we have called you on an impromptu, you have been able to read some stanzas of the Qasidat for us. May Allah bless you. Sister Adewusi had network issue, and so she couldn't join again. I have the honor of calling on the Naif Sadarwan to lead us in Lajinok Pledge. Naif Sadarwan in person of Ajia Wakila Sanusi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please let us all stop where we are for the Ladna stage. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah
Illallah.
Sorry, can we unmute ourselves and then repeat after me the Ladna stage? Or mute yourself, and immediately after the Ladna pledge, let's mute ourselves back. Ashhadu alla ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, The one without any partner.
One without any partner.
And I bear witness
I bear witness
that Muhammad
that Muhammad
is his servant
is his servant
and his messenger.
And his
and
messenger.
messenger.
I affirm that
I affirm that
I shall always be ready
I shall always be ready
I shall always
to
be
sacrifice my
ready,
life,
to
sacrifice
sacrifice
my
my life,
life,
property, time, and children
property, time, and
time
children,
and children
for the cause of faith and the community.
for the cause of peace and the community.
I shall always adhere to truth,
I shall always adhere to
Now,
the truth,
they are teaching the truth,
and I shall always be prepared to make every sacrifice
and
and
I
I
shall
shall
always be prepared to make every sacrifice
for the perpetuation of Ahmadiyya's Khilafat.
for the
for the
perpetuation of the
Perpetuation of Ahmadiyya Khilafah.
Inshallah, they agree.
Inshallah.
Allah the Aziz.
Please, let's mute ourselves back. Jazakumullah khair.
Barakallahu fi.
Jazakumullah khairan jazama. We are grateful. So I also want to speak by calling on NSP by cousin of Hajia Salamat Matepo to give us the silent prayer.
Àwọn chẹ́ẹ̀kì ilé ìyá àti la máa ń tà wọ́n sí ilé máa ń tà ilé nǹkan sí. Sí kọ́lọ̀ ṣo kò tẹ́ mọ́ fún un ọ̀pá manage. Organic mix ọ̀pá kan sọ ju grandma ní àbí. Àlélí mu. Wọ́n ti ẹ̀kọ́ tó ń lò ó. Ọ̀pá kan calculate. Ṣé wọ́n ti parí 150? Èlò nìyẹn 750.
NS2 ma. Bismillah ma. For the prayer.
اللهم صل على محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد.
Amen. I cannot see. I think NS2 is also not responding to network.
I think
So
she's not.
can we call on?
She's not in the meeting. She's not on this call. And Sister Rafia.
Ma'am.
Sister Rafia. Can
Yes, ma'am.
the organizer please turn off the video of all those people that are showing their teaching?
We are doing that already, ma.
Okay. Jazakumullah.
Inshallah, we'll ensure that. Ma. Okay. Ma, can you please call on somebody else to give the opening prayer so we can proceed, ma? Boyede. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillah.
Sister Rafia,
Ma?
Region 1 start, the regional coordinator is in the house. Can she lead the opening prayer, please?
Okay, ma. Region 1 coordinator, ma. Bismillah, ma. Mrs. Akintolu, please unmute yourself.
Maybe you should go ahead and give the opening prayer so that we can proceed.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm sorry. What do you require me to do? I didn't hear the beginning of I just heard my name.
Okay. Is the opening prayer, ma?
Okay.
This
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Surah Al-Fatiha wa Darud. Amen.
Ameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. So, ma, the next thing is the Sadal speech. Sadal Saiba has given us a word that she won't be permanently with us because she is on transit at the moment on another official work from the Jamaat. May Allah continue to strengthen her and ease all the tasks for her. Amen. So the Sadal Saiba has also graciously approved that NS1 should give the speech on her behalf. NS1, ma.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
This actually is a task for me, but inshallah, I'll just do a brief remark, opening remark on the program. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So Alhamdulillah, 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 Rabbil Alamin. We thank Almighty Allah for giving us the grace to this end. We adore Him. We give all praises to His name, and we give salutation to the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with the Ramadan Lil Alamin. We are here today. Well, from the topics that were of the discourse today. It's all about my fashion, my worship, mainly. So we're going to talk around it and what actually necessitates this program today. We can see that Islam, being a complete way of life, actually gives direction, gives us, we have commandments from Almighty Allah on the way we should dress, the way we should eat. Islam is a complete way of life. Tells you what to do when you are about to eat. Almost every action that you do is with prayer. And then the kind of dress a man can wear, the kind of dress a woman can wear is all stipulated. All these, if you look at it, is not for any other purpose, but the main purpose of it is, as we're obeying the commandments of Allah, is also to maintain harmony, is also to ensure moral discipline and some other things. When we look at those verses of the Quran, particularly the one read this morning, it's very, very strict about the dressing of we women. And that verse came into being when, if you read the commentary, it was the believing women. Oh, you, the prophet's wife. Yeah, it was actually the prophet's wife that was given. That's just to stop them from being molested. But then, when you look at it, anything given to the prophet's wife also applies to us. It applies to every other female Muslim. If they said the prophet's wife should not do this, they should not do that, they should dress like this, they should dress like that. If the commandment in the Quran says that, is applicable to us as well. And that's why they said Quran talks about what is in the past, what is happening now, and what will be in the future. That's why it's an eternal book. It's a divine book. And that's how you know a divine revelation, a divine book. We could see in that those verses read through, emphasis was laid on our mode of dressing as Muslims. So this topic of discourse came into being because several questions have been raised. Can we do this? Even can we do that? Can we do this? Can we dress like this? Can we wear this? Can we use makeup? Can we do nail varnish and all those things? Medicure and pedicure. Can we do it? You know, those questions are right. And while there are no specific details as to, but then we see those things even happening in the days of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There's some hadith, there's some that actually talk against certain things that were being done by the pagan Arabs in those days, and the Muslims were forbidden to do such things. We'll see in the course of the discourse, we'll see what is allowed, what is not allowed, and to what extent those things are allowed when we start the discussion according to Islam. And I'm sure the lecturer and the discussant will actually do justice to the topic as well. It's for us to learn. It's for us to also know what is permissible in Islam and what is not permissible. If we are Muslim, being a Muslim is total submission. We should submit totally without any hindrance, without holding anything back. We should submit totally. So today we're going to look at a mode of dressing, how fashion and addressing. What is fashion? What is Islamic dressing? Can you do fashion as well dressed modestly as a Muslim? Can you do makeup as well dressed modestly as a Muslim? So that is all what we're going to talk about today. And may Allah bless the program and may He make it a source of knowledge and a source of spiritual development and a source of wisdom for us. May Allah bless everybody that is participating in this program. I mean, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullahu khairan jazama. May Allah continue to bless you, strengthen you, favor you, both in this world as well as in the world to come. We appreciate you, ma. Thank you so much, ma. So without much ado, I want to humbly call on our lecturer or our speaker for today, who happens to be a member of the Jamaat, a missionary, and will be talking to us on the topic. You may wonder that why did we go to bring a male here? It's because it's not because we don't have capable hands among us that can talk to us about it, but because of some issues that arisen from some previous discourse, and we feel let everybody hear from the horse's mouth. More so, we believe that when we hear him, it won't be, oh, it is large enough that is taking this thing too far. The Kudratillahi Azim, we abide and we stick to whatever we see in the Quran and the Hadith and the Nizam Jamaat, the Kudratillahi Ta'ala. So I want to call on brother Abdurrafiq Halaka to do justice to this topic, fashion within the framework of Islam. We will be talking to us ideal Muslim dress code, the permissibilities, the prohibitions, and the Jamaat standard, the Kudratillahi. Bismillah.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم إنك حميد مجيد. I feel so much humbled to have been invited to give this talk, and I most humbly pray that may Allah the Almighty make it a source of blessing for the speaker and the listeners. Before I proceed, Dr. Saiba, permit me to state that while you were introducing me, you introduced me to be a missionary, even though I am not. But if your introduction of me being a missionary is actually because we have been taught to all be missionaries as members of the Jamaat, then I will accept being a missionary. But if to be a missionary in that sense that we all know,
okay, okay.
So I'm just a floor member like every other person. So Jazakumullah khairan, man.
Okay.
So so as you have said, the theme of this discussion is fashion in the framework of Islam, and under that we have been able to carve out a topic: ideal Muslim dress code, the permissibilities, the prohibitions, and the Jamaat standard. The first thing I would like to state, before I proceed, also permit me, pardon me for not recognizing the presence of our mothers, the Naiba Sadar, who I think we have two of them here, and also the Sarah Saiba in absentia, all members of Amila Mook of Lajna Imaila, beloved sisters in faith. I recognize your presence. May Allah the Almighty continue to be with us. So the first question that may want to arise in the minds of those who are listening to us is, does Islam even permit fashion? Since we are here to discuss fashion within the framework of Islam, So it may interest some of us to know whether Islam actually permits fashion. The answer to that is as simple as killing a fly. And the answer is yes. Islam permits fashion. One of the closest Sahaba of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, known as Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, is quoted to have said, he said, one day the Messenger of Allah, may Allah be pleased with him, said, لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة من كبر. Such a one will not be admitted into paradise. One in whose heart an atom weight of arrogance is found. Such a one will not enter paradise. He said, فَقَالَ الرَّجُلُ. Then a man stood up and said, Ya Rasulallah, O Messenger of Allah, وَإِنَّ الرَّجُلَ يُحِبُّ أَن يَكُونَ ثَوْبُهُ حَسَنًا وَنَعْلُهُ حَسَنَةً. What we know is that everyone will want to appear in a nice outfit. Everyone wants to put on a nice and beautiful garment. Everyone wants to put on a nice shoes. So does this not contradict what we have said before, or are we not permitted to put on something nice, maybe shoes or dresses? Then the Messenger of Allah responded by saying, Inna Allah Jamil. Most certainly, Allah the Almighty is the Lord of beauty, Yuhibbul Jamal, and He loves beauty. Al-kibru batarul haqqi wa ghamtun nas. What is meant by kibru, that is arrogance, is looking down on people and having known the truth. When you now decide not to follow the truth, then that is arrogance. Or when you look down on people. So this is the definition for arrogance. There's a difference between arrogance and fashion. So Islam, fashion, because Allah himself, according to the hadith, is the Lord of beauty and He loves beauty. So the answer to this is that Allah wants you as a Muslim, male or female, to appear nice. That's the first thing we have to note. Also, appearing nice is not only limited to a gender in Islam. Both men and women are expected to look nice in Islam. Of course, there are certain restrictions applicable to some genders, but the general rule is that both genders should look nice. Abdullah ibn Abbas, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, is quoted to have said, "Inni la uhibbu an atazayyana limra'ati kama uhibbu an tatazayyana li, li'anna Allah yaqul wa lahunna mithlu alladhi alayhinna bil ma'ruf." He said, most certainly, I love to adorn myself for my wife, just like I love that she adorns herself for me. And the reason why I've chosen this is because Allah has said in the Quran that وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, and they have rights similar to those of men over them. That is, women have the same number of rights that men have over them. So they also have the same number of rights over their men. So this is Surah Al-Baqarah, Quran chapter 2, verse 2 to 9. Now, the next question we want to look at is, why should you listen to Islam? Or why should you allow Islam to dictate how you embrace your fashion, or what fashion do you embrace? Because why, the question usually comes up in our minds, maybe because some of us are born Ahmadis or we are born Muslims, we may think the question is not relevant. But at times, the attitude of people shows that such questions should be answered frequently. Because at times, when you seem to have options around you, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that. So why should you now restrict yourself to what Islam has said? Why not doing otherwise? Why not exploring other opportunities you have? In answering this, I will just call our attention to a few points. The reason why you should accept the definition of Islam for fashion, or why you should follow the Islamic dictate for whatever you do at all, especially as women, is because it is Islam that has liberated you. You've got no other liberator anywhere except Islam. The Western world, who are claiming to give you rights that Islam has denied you, they are only telling lies. The rights given to you by Islam have not been given by any other religion or by any other form of government. It is Islam that has given you everything. It may interest you to know that prior to 1870, the English law never recognized, and alhamdulillah, we have some of our mothers here who are lawyers. Magistrate Saiba is here. Before 1870, when what is known as the Married Women Property Law was enacted in the UK, in the English law, there was no right for women, married women. They had no right to own properties and dispose those properties as they wish. Whatever properties they had then, prior to 1870, were always at the disposal of their husbands. So for centuries, women in the Western world were living like this. No right to own properties, no right to spend whatever they have earned according to their wills. When you now compare this with Islam, Islam has granted this right to the Muslims, to the Muslim ladies, for more than 14,100 years ago. So which one is now better? Is it Islam or this pseudo liberator of women? I mean, the Western world. So Islam has been in the forefront of liberating you and setting guidelines for you. So if Islam is now your liberator, so why should you not listen to Islam more often than you listen to other forms of government or religion? Also, this issue of feminism that has taken over our social space, feminism did not originate from the Muslim countries. I'm sure we all know that. It emanated from the West. That alone is a proof that the West were the Western nations were those who have continually perpetrated all forms of evils against women, who have continuously denied the women their rights. So feminism started from there because women know who their oppressors were, and they were the Westerners, not the Muslims. So if they now come today and start telling you that because Islam has said you should use hijab, that Islam is trying to deny you your right, they are only deceiving you. And that is one of the names of Dajjal. In fact, the word Dajjal means somebody that is deceptive, a great deceiver. So we shouldn't be deceived by whatever they say. The Islamic rule is the best for you, and we are going to prove that here. Also, before 1790, a woman was not considered a French citizen. Before 1790, a woman was not considered a French citizen. It was in 1790 that a man known as Nicolas de Condorcet started fighting for women to be included or to be counted as citizens in France. So only adult males were regarded as French citizens prior to 1790. Can you imagine that? It sounds absurd, I'm sure. Also, when you look at a report, I think it was maybe 20, yes, I think it was this year, the report was this year, according to the Department of Justice in the US, it was suggested that about 1.5 million, if my memory will serve me right, about 1.5 million women are raped or physically assaulted by intimate partners. In 2018 also, 81% of women and 43% of men had experienced some form of sexual harassment during their lifetime. Now, when you now look at the volume of sexual harassment that we have in the US and other Western countries, and you now place that side by side with their agitations for freedom for women that they have been shouting about. Why, despite all these shouts since the 19th century till date, why have they not been able to curb sexual harassment of women? Women are still being sexually abused, sexually harassed on a daily basis in these Western countries, despite all these measures they are put in place to checkmate sexual harassment. The reason why they have not been able to do that is because they have lost sight of the rule of hijab that's been enacted by Islam, put in place by Islam. So it is only the full understanding and the full adoption of the rule of hijab that will curb, if not eradicate, all forms of sexual harassment. And that is what Islam stands to gain. So these are the reasons why you should listen to Islam and not to the West. They are trying to take off your garments. They are trying to make you naked. But Islam is trying to clothe you And I'm sure we all know that one of the signs of the latter days, according to the hadith, is that people who think they are putting on clothes, especially women, nisa'un kasiyatun ariyat, according to the hadith, women who would think they put on clothes, kasiyat, they are putting on clothes, ariyat, but in the real sense, they are naked. They move about nakedly. So we all see them every day. So this is one of the signs of latter days, and that is what the West is proposing to the world now. So you should listen more to it. In fact, you listen to Islam alone, because the West have nothing to offer you. Now, the next thing to look at is the Islamic fashion mode. What is the mode of Islamic fashion? And by fashion here, I'm going to talk about clothing first. I'm still coming to other aspects of fashion. But the first I'm going to talk about under Islamic fashion mode is clothing. Number one, Islam has no specific style or model for a dress, especially for a lady. Islam does not say, okay, this is a particular model that you should adopt. No. That is left to customary traditions. Because in the Sharia, there is a legal maxim in Usul al-Fiqh, we say, al-adatu muhakkama. The local custom is an habitat. That's a legal maxim in the Sharia. The local custom is an habitat. Al-adatu muhakkama. So certain things are left to local customs. In our own way, we put on Iro and Buba here. In some climes, maybe they put on trousers and gown, suit, or whatever. So that is left to each local custom. However, there are certain conditions that must be met in whatever clothes a Muslim decides to put on, especially ladies now, since we are focusing on ladies. Once those conditions are met, Islam has no problem with whatever clothes you put on. Just ensure that the conditions are met. So Islam will not say you have to sew your clothes using this particular material or using this particular color. No, Islam does not have color. So if anybody says you have to put on black and you have to put on a certain color, because that is the color of Islam, so that you don't look attractive, that is not Islam. No, that's not Islam. Islam does not have a particular color, but there are guidelines, and there are three of them. The three conditions have been mutually agreed upon by all schools of thought in the Sharia. The first condition is that clothes should cover your nakedness. And what is expected to be left out of that covering is your hand and your feet. The first condition is that the clothes should cover your nakedness. In the Holy Quran, Quran chapter 7, Surah Al-A'raf, verse 27, Allah Almighty says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya bani Adam qad anzalna alaykum libasan yuwari sawatikum warisha wa libasu taqwa dhalika khair. ذَلِكَ مِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَذَّكَّرُونَ. O children of Adam, we have indeed sent down to you raiment, that is garments, to cover your nakedness. That's the first role a cloth has to play. To cover your nakedness, warisha, and to be a means of adornment. So putting on clothes itself is fashion, is adornment. It is meant to also adorn you. So it means when you go about naked, you are not adorned at all. So you look ugly, you look awkward, one looks so stupid. But if you want to look beautiful, you put on clothes. And that clothes, before it can become an adornment, it has to cover your nakedness. So that is the first thing mentioned by the Quran. So the first condition is that clothes should cover nakedness, with the exception of your hand and your feet alone. Now, the second condition that must be met is that there should be no shafafiyya. Shafafiyya is transparency. The clothes should not be transparent. The color of your skin or whatever is under that cloth should not be seen. So for those who wear, I don't know whether they call it cord lace or what have you, this kind of lace that will be very transparent, and in fact you will see the skin. That does not meet this condition. And as such, our members should desist from such. So there should be no transparency. Whatever is underneath should not be seen. That's the second condition. Then the third condition, which is the last, is that the clothes should be free. and it should not describe the shape of the body. In the verse of the Quran that was recited by our sister at the beginning of this session, that is Surah Al-Ahzab, Quran 33, verses 60 to 64. Allah the Almighty commanded the Messenger of Allah to tell his wives and his daughters and the wives of the believing men that yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihinna, that their coverings, the outer garment, should be loose. So any cloth that should be put on by a woman, by a Muslimah, should not be tight-fitting. There is nothing like fitted for a woman, at least in the sense that I understand it. There's nothing like fitted. It should not describe your shape. No, nothing like fitted for a woman. In Musnad Ahmad bin Hanbal, Usama bin Zayd radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he reported that the Messenger of Allah gave him a particular attire, and that attire was also given to the Prophet ﷺ by somebody. Then he now dashed it to him. So one day the Prophet ﷺ now saw him without that garment. He was now asking him, "Oh Usama, why are you not putting on that attire I've given you?" Then he said, "I've given it to my wife to wear it." Then the Messenger of Allah asked him that, "Go back to your wife now. Go and meet your wife instantly and take it from her. Or you ask her to put on something underneath, because I'm afraid that that attire would describe," that was the word used by the Prophet ﷺ in that hadith, "will describe our body." It means any clothes you put on should not describe your body. What does description here means? Bringing out your shape. So that is that. So these are the three conditions that must be met by any clothes you put on. Once these conditions are met, Islam does not care whether you wear Yoruba and Buba. Islam does not care whether you wear skirt and blouse. Islam does not care whether you wear suit. Islam does not care whether you wear agbada. Islam does not care. And that's why I said that Islam does not have a particular model or a particular material for clothing. No. Those who put on this single color, do they call it jilbab? Yes, I think they call it jilbab. It is permissible, but it's not compulsory. If anybody feels that is what you can wear, let her put it on. But it will be wrong to say that is how everybody should dress. No, that is not. It is permissible because it fulfills all these conditions we have mentioned. But to say that that is how everybody must, no. That is wrong. So you can sew any material that is not transparent, that is not inviting, that is not tight, that is not revealing your body. So Islam does not care. So long as these three conditions are met. So that is that. So that is that about clothing. Now, we now go to another aspect of fashion that is common these days, and that's pictures. Naturally, when you put on something nice, you want to feel yourself. And you want to snap pictures. I'm sure, as members of Lajna Imaila, we all know the Jamaat standard now on pictures. We all know what pictures are and what the Uzuras told us about it. There's a guidance on it. When Uzur first gave this guidance a few years ago, I think I was National President Amsa or Tabi Secretary Amsa, I couldn't recollect vividly. I remembered I spoke personally to some sisters who were fond of posting their pictures on the social media, and alhamdulillah, some of them refrained from that act. But unfortunately, some could not sustain that withdrawal from social media, from posting their pictures. After a while, they went back to it. I talked to some of them again, they refrained. But at the point in time, they could not even, or they did not even feel like listening to me again. Of course, I understand. But we should know that the Jamaat standard, at least now, for pictures, is that ladies should not post their pictures on the social media. People ask some questions. Okay, what if it is during Eid and we are celebrating? So we are in the mood of that joyous mood. So we want to celebrate, we want to post. Some people asked me during this just concluded Eid, and I said my own opinion is that if the Uzur says do this, the uzur should be this only person to give me the exceptions. Okay, even though I've given you so rule, okay, but I'm exempting you for so reasons. If it is it, but since the uzur has not given me that, so how would you not expect me to tell you that, okay, for it, you can post it? I won't tell you that. So all I know is that those people under me will not do it. My wife will not do it. My sisters will not post. So I have power over those. But for those people over whom I do not have any power, I can only advise them. But for you to expect me to give you an exception to a rule given by the uzur, I won't. So, in fact, I said for now, the rule is that there should be no pictures. Tomorrow, there can be exceptions. But since we don't have them today, as of today, then let us refrain. Now, why I said we might have exceptions tomorrow is that Islam is not a rigid religion. When Facebook first came, Uzur first said that we should not use Facebook. Or let me say he discouraged. So he didn't prohibit, but he discouraged us using Facebook. But later, he allowed it. Islam is not a rigid religion. We can say something today, and after studying the issue in depth tomorrow, we can say, okay, we are giving so exception. Use it but for social reasons. So the same thing can be applicable. But as of now, I do not know of any exception given by the uzur with respect to ladies, Ahmadi ladies posting their pictures on social media. So you can take pictures, you can take them as much as you like, but posting them on social media or sharing them with people who are not supposed to see them contravenes the rule of hijab. So that is my submission on that. Now, going to the other means of adornment, like the braids, braiding your hair, using attachments, perfume, wigs, makeup, nail polish, and so on and so forth. I'll take this one by one so that I can be explicit enough while also maintaining my time. The first one I'm going to talk about is makeup. You see, in the Jamaat, all things have been simplified for us. If, for instance, this particular discussion is going on outside the Jamaat, if I'm talking to other Muslims who are not Ahmadis now, I might have believed myself, putting ahadith, views of different scholars from the four mainstream schools of thought in the Sunni Islam and also the Shia Islam, comparing them, coming out with a very lengthy submission. But since we are Ahmadis, I know it suffices to tell you that this is what the Khalifa has said. Even though it has been my practice to always back whatever the Khalifa has said with ahadith and with text from the early scholars, from the Sahaba, so that we can be rest assured that what the Khalifa has told us is not just Ahmadiyya thing. That Ahmadiyya they are too strict, they are too this, they are too. Whatever the Khalifa has said is what Islam says. So I always love to quote the Uzur, and also I will now tell you what the Uzur has said is found in social hadith, and that is why Uzur has told you this. So Uzur is not only telling you to do this from his edge. No, he's telling you what Allah has told you, but you have forgotten or you have lost sight of. So on the issue of makeup, in a mulaqah that was done by Nasra Ghana, Nasratul Ahmadiyya in Ghana a few years ago, a question was asked, and I'm sure that some of us have watched that video, if not all of us. A girl asked the Uzur whether makeup is permissible. And Uzur says, you can do makeup. Makeup is permissible. But Uzur also said, when you do makeup, then you have to observe that you have to cover your face. It means you have to use niqab. He said, in fact, another mulaqat by Lajna Ima Nigeria, because I remember I watched it then. The Sarah Saiba also sent me that clip a few days ago. Another mulaqat by Lajna Ima Nigeria, the same thing was addressed. That when you do makeup, then that means you are ready to cover your face. That means you are ready to use niqab. But without the makeup, Uzur said, the way you have dressed now, while addressing Nigeria, I said, the way you have dressed now, you have done the minimum requirement for hijab. That's what Uzo said. He said that is the minimum you have to do. That you have covered your entire hair, your cheeks, and your neck. Then your clothes is not tight-fitted. He said you have fulfilled the minimum requirement for hijab. Uzo said it, minimum. And I'm sure when they said something is minimum, it means that is the least you should do. And it means you can also do better. So we can also do better as Ahmadi ladies. I have to mention this because we've had cases of some of our sisters in this Jamaat trying to use niqab, and some of us trying to maybe insult them or saying they are doing too much, especially when those ladies were not married. So we feel they are doing too much. No, there is no rule anywhere that says you have to start using the niqab when you are married. No, at least as far as I'm concerned. So nobody has been able to tell me or cite a single text from mainstream Islamic sources for me that you have to observe Burda only after nikah. It is not stated anywhere. So if anybody decides to do this now, we should not start making negative comment about them because we are not doing them. Because when we go back to what Prophet ﷺ said about this issue of Burda, covering your face, he said that is the ideal thing to do. However, if for whatever reason you cannot do it, then the minimum, as the Quran has said, is that you cover your hair, your cheeks, and your chin, then you go about. But once you say you want to use makeup, Uzur said it, and I'm sure he made that statement to Lajna Imaila, Nigeria, that once you do makeup, then you have to use niqab. So if you are not able to use niqab, that means it is safer for you. You just take your bath, maybe you want to apply cream or powder and go out. So that is that on the issue of makeup. Now, you see all these issues that I've mentioned, like the braids, the attachment, perfume, wigs, and all these things. There is a way we can understand it. Because I'm still going to be mentioning certain things like the issue of attachment that is somehow controversial. But once you get this point I'm about to make now, it will assist us in understanding, in having a holistic understanding of the entire thing. And that is in Islam, in the Sharia. The rules, ahkam sharia, the rules of Sharia, they have been divided into 5 or 6 categories. We have what we call al-wajibat. Those are the obligatory acts that if you do not do them, you will be punished by Allah the Almighty. Like your 5 daily salat, like Ramadan, fast, like zakat, if you are eligible, and all these acts, these are wajibat. If you do not do them, you will be punished. Then after that, we have muharramat, those things that have been forbidden by Allah the Almighty, that if anybody should do them, such a one will be punished by Allah the Almighty, like zina, like lying, disobeying parents. These are muharramat, they are haram. They have been proclaimed haram by Allah the Almighty and by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So when you do them, you'll be punished. Then we have things we call mubahat. Mubah, when they say an act is mubah, it means that act is permissible. It is permissible because we have not found any text in the hadith or in the Quran prohibiting it. And because one of the legal maxims in Usul al-Fiqh, that is the fundamental of Islamic jurisprudence, one of the legal maxims we have there is, it says that al-aslu fil ashya al-ibaha. The fundamental principle of everything is permissibility. That is, on the surface level, everything is permissible until we have a text, either in the Quran or in the Sunnah, prohibiting such acts. As long as we do not have a decisive text saying that this thing is prohibited, then it is permissible. So we have mubah. Mubah are permissible acts. So when you do them, you have no reward. And when you don't do them, you have no punishment. That is mubah. Now, we can have, when we now say something is mubah, it is permissible. It means that you can do it and you may not do it. Doing it will earn you no reward. Not doing it will not earn you any punishment. But in some cases, if doing that mubah, that permissible act, can deter you or debar you from doing an obligatory act, even though we do not have any specific text in the hadith or the Quran prohibiting that mubah, that permissible act, then the Sharia will not allow you to do that thing. Let me come again. I want to be sure that my points are well understood. We say we have mubah. Mubah is a permissible act. When you do it, you have no reward. When you don't do it, you have no punishment. But you can do it if you like. But why we say you can do it is because there is no prohibition, specific prohibition for that thing in the Quran or the Sunnah. But if you now see that doing that thing will deny you the opportunity of doing an obligatory thing that you cannot afford to lose, because if you don't do an obligatory thing, you'll be punished, then that mubah also will now be conditioned, or will now be, you will be denied access to it. And an example could be gotten from the mulaqat the Uzu had with the Nasrat in Ghana. When he was talking about this issue of makeup, he said, Uzu said, there are more important things in life than just fashion. And he said, the most important thing is worship. He now said, if you apply makeup now, and the prayer of Salat, time of Salat comes, you now feel reluctant to wash your face, or won't you perform ablution? So if it is convenient for you to continue performing ablution, wash your face thoroughly as it should be washed, as a condition for ablution. After that, you go back, after Salat, you go and apply your makeup again. Islam does not say you shouldn't do it. But if you now say, okay, maybe I'll perform tayammum, I'm now elaborating what Usul said now. So if you now say, I want to perform tayammum, not tayammum, tayammum, I want to perform tayammum because I'm applying makeup, and if I should wash my face now, the makeup will be washed away. Then that act of mubah, that permissible act of makeup, will not be permissible again. It does not mean that we will now say, okay, everybody should not use makeup again. We now announce that makeup is not permissible. No, but that mubah is conditioned by the obligatory act. So I think the point is gotten. So this understanding of this will assist us, in understanding the other point that I'm still going to make as regards attachment and the rest. So not all mubah acts, not all mubahat, all permissible acts must be done because they are not compulsory. Especially when you know that doing them will debar you from doing the obligatory, the wajibat. Now that is that on makeup. Now looking at wigs. Can you wear a wig? The same permissibility was given by Uzur, may Allah be his helper, in that same mulaqat. And we should understand that permissibility also in the light of what I've just explained. Worship is the first thing. We all know that verse. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ in Surah Al-Dhariyat وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We have not created the jinns and the men except for the purpose of worship. So anything should not come between you and that worship. Any fashion that comes between you and worship is not allowed. So you are not expected to say, okay, because you're observing fashion, then you are not going to pray. So if you put on a wig now, for instance, and it is time for Salat, so if you know you want to remove it, so that you can use water and touch your head as a requirement for, because you are not going to use that water and touch the wig. It is the head, not the wig now. So Uzu said you can use it. Yes. I'm not saying, I will not tell you not to use it now. But Uzu emphasized on worship. That means whenever you want to use it, it has to be that it will not come in between you and your worship. That is number one. Then number two, still on wigs. When you use the wig, definitely whatever you use, whatever fashion you use, going out of your home, you have to use your hijab. That must be loose. That must cover all necessary part of your body. Now, if you now put on your wig, how will your head look like? Especially the wigs that some people use. The head will now be somehow too big, and you may now even look somehow awkward. or unless if there are ways you can do it, that it will not be too, as in that wig will not be too reflective of, because in some cases you will see people, they will move about. Because why I said this is that in some cases you may be unnecessarily be a point of attraction for people, and people will now start pointing fingers at you, that can't you see this one? Is it carrying some load on his head? Because you have to use hijab. Hijab is compulsory. You have to use hijab. So some people, so those who are not using hijab, so those ones who are not Muslims, we are talking of Muslims here now. So you should, when you want to use wig, so you now weigh your options, put them side by side. Can you use wig and use hijab? And the use of your wig will not come between the use of your hijab, you and the use of your hijab, because that hijab is wajib. Don't forget the magazine we have explained before. The using of hijab for a woman is wajib, is compulsory. But using wig is mubah, it is permissible. And mubah should not come between you and wajib. So that is the condition there. So if you can now say that, okay, I will use hijab and I will use that wig, and it will not come between me and those obligatory things that I should do as a Muslim, then what, I have no problem. I'm not a woman, so I may not know much about wigs, but I think I've given us the basics for using it. Then the third one is nail polish. So Uzur answered the same question in that same mulaqah. Uzur said you can use nail polish, it is permissible. In fact, you can perform ablution with it. He said there is no hadith that says that the water must touch your nail. It must touch your nail and not the nail polish. He said you can perform ablution with the nail polish. So Uzur has answered that, and that is very clear. Now the next thing is perfume, the use of perfume. You know, while we're growing up, while we're in Arabic school, what we were taught then was that for ladies, perfume is totally haram. Around 2014 or 13, if my memory will serve me right, I was watching one of the episodes of Liqa Al Arab, a meeting with the Arabs. That was a regular program done by the fourth Uzur, may Allah be pleased with him, Mirza Tahir Ahmad, with the Arabs on MTA. And I was watching a particular episode that was, of course, relayed years after his demise. I was watching this episode and somebody asked whether a woman can use perfume. That the lady said she read it somewhere that perfume is forbidden in an hadith for a woman. Then Uzur said, you have to bring that hadith to me. You know, I was expecting the Uzur to say, of course, because that was what I also know. I was expecting Uzur to say, yes, you cannot use perfume. But that reluctance on his side to say no or yes, he said, no, until you bring that hadith to me, then I will now read it. I will understand the context of that hadith, then I will now give you my fatwa. And that was the first time the idea ever came up to me that, okay, it might be permissible to use perfume for a woman. And the hadith that is pointed out or that is referred to by those who said a woman cannot use perfume at all is an hadith that says ayyuma mura'atin ista'tarat, any woman that applies perfume famarrat ala qawmin liyajidu min riha, and passes by a people so that they might perceive that odor from her, fahiya zaniya, such a woman is an adulteress. So it is based on this hadith that some scholars now say women should not use perfume at all, but that is wrong. It clearly shows from this hadith that those who have been forbidden from what is forbidden here in this hadith is that a woman should use perfume for the sole reason of beguiling men, inviting men to herself. That's the only thing that is prohibited here. So if one can use perfume and you can guarantee that, okay, that is not your intention, and in fact, you are not going to use it in such a way that will give you undue attention from men, then Islam does not say that members of Lajna cannot use perfume. Islam does not say that. Our watchword should be moderation to everything. So if there is a perfume you can use that is not that will not be so strong that will invite or that will arrest the attention of people far away from you, then you can use it. There are some perfumes that when you use, only those who stand very close to you will perceive it. And according to the rule of hijab, even when I'm talking to a sister, I'm not expected to, no, as in to be so close like that. So that means there is a possibility that I will not even perceive that fragrance from her, because the rule of hijab has to be established. If I'm talking to you, so we don't shake hands, we don't hug, we don't do this. So where will I perceive those things, that fragrance? Except if the perfume is so strong and it can invite men, and you are going to an assembly of men, you are going to a place where you will likely meet so many men, then you can say, okay, use some fragrance, maybe perhaps some body sprays, because you also have to be healthy within you. There is personal hygiene in Islam. So we cannot say that, okay, don't adorn your body, don't add anything. No, that is not what Islam says. So Islam is a religion that stays in between, and that's why Islam is a religion of a religion of moderation. Allah says, we have made you an ummah, a nation, wasatan, that will always stay at the middle. There will be no ifrat. Ifrat is overdoing, excess. And there will be no tafrit. Tafrit is negligence. So you won't be negligent of your duties. At the same time, you won't overdo. You stay at the middle. That is Islam. So if you know you can use some perfume that will not be so strong as to invite, arrest attention of people around you, especially when you are in the midst of men, maybe at your place of work, then Islam does not. So there's no outright prohibition for the use of perfume for ladies. So that is that. Then finally, under the issue of fashion, I'll now talk about the issue of makeup, because this is what has generated so much controversy. And I can tell you that maybe that is the reason why I'm here giving this talk. I wouldn't know, but I think that might be the reason. Recently, people have been asking whether attachment could be used by Muslim ladies. Before now, my own opinion was that attachment of whatever kind is prohibited by Islam. In fact, for those of our sisters who were here, who we were contemporaries during our AMSA days, they will recollect that in 2016, at the National Hike of AMSA, Jabu Day 2016, I gave a talk on the issue of morals and spirituality, and I quoted the verse, the hadith that says that Allah has cursed those ladies who attach things to their hair and those who help them in doing that. And in fact, I even mentioned that it is one of the signs of the latter days. So I mentioned that. And that shows that I was vehemently against this issue of attachment. But as humans, you continue to learn by the day. Recently, while I was, I think few months ago, yes, I was a lecturer in Jamia, I came across a link from alhakam.org, so one of the official magazines of the Jamaat that was founded by Prophet Musa al-Islam. Al-Hakam now published a response given by the Khalifa, may Allah be his helper, to a lady who was asking concerning all these things, waxing of your body, attachment, and the rest. So the lady said she met a missionary who said all these things are not permissible. Then she was now seeking further guidance from the Uzur. So she appeared not to be very comfortable with the response given by the missionary. So she now wrote a letter to Uzur asking for his verdict concerning waxing and plucking of your eyebrows. Now, in responding, I would like to read what the Uzur has said verbatim so that we can all be on the same page. At least when they ask you that what is the Jamaat stand on the issue of attachment now, you will not quote me again. You will now quote the Uzur. So I want to read what the Uzur has said verbatim in his response to that lady. Uzur said, it is narrated in the Ahadith that Allah the Exalted has caused those women who for cosmetic or aesthetic purposes practice tattooing, and those who get themselves tattooed, and those who pluck facial hair, and those who artificially create a space between the front teeth, and those who practice artificial lengthening of the hair, and those who get their hair lengthened artificially, who alter Allah's creation. This is Sahih Bukhari, Kitabul Libas. There is always some or the other point of wisdom behind every Islamic commandment. Moreover, some Islamic injunctions have a specific context and background to them. If we disregard their background, then they will become distorted. When the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was commissioned as a prophet, on the one hand, the poison of various kinds of polytheism had spread everywhere in the world, and especially in the Arabian Peninsula. And on the other hand, different kinds of misguided attitudes had also gripped humanity in their claws. Men and women were involved in various kinds of polytheistic rituals and social evils. The ahadith that prohibit the above-mentioned actions. Now, which actions? That is the issue of attachment, lengthening your hair artificially, and other things that were mentioned. Uzur is now trying to explain now. The ahadith that prohibit the above-mentioned actions, especially mention two motivators behind those actions. Number one, the altering of God's creation. That is, they want to alter Allah's creation. That's the first one. Then number two, looking more beautiful. Now, Uzur continues. When we carefully consider these two aspects, we observe that the first aspect, namely the altering of God's creation, points to social evils and also reflects polytheistic practices. Hence, wearing long braids, wrapping them into turbans, and then considering those to be a sign of nobility or sacrament, wearing braids or top knots as a vow of devotion to some saint or guru, shaving the top of the head while growing hair around it, and considering it a blessing for children, having the image of a goddess, idol, or animal tattooed on the body, face, arms, etc., to seek blessings. These were all polytheistic practices driven by mythical superstitions of the Jahiliyyah. So Uzur gave the background to that hadith, that hadith is not generic. There were things that were associated with it that were polytheistic in nature. They regarded those things as divine things that would invite blessings to them. And that was why the Prophet ﷺ prohibited them. Now Uzur further says, the second aspect, that is for the sake of beauty, in some respects, reflects social misconduct and obscenity. It is not forbidden for a person to adopt any legitimate methods for their own beauty while remaining within the permissible limits. Hence, it is mentioned in a hadith that a person said to Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that he liked and admired a fine dress and shoes, and he asked if it constituted arrogance. The Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ replied that was not arrogance. Arrogance was to deny the truth and despise others. Moreover, it is a well-established fact that even in those days, when women were to be married, they too will be adorned according to the methods of that era. That even Muslim ladies were always adorned at the time of their marriages according to the methods of that era. At least that is proven in the hadith. Therefore, the attainment of beauty about which the Prophet ﷺ warned of God's cause certainly means something else. Uzur says, this hadith that you have read, the cause mentioned there by the Prophet ﷺ is not just for mere beauty. It has something else. It means something else. And Uzur will explain further. So he says, hence, when we carefully ponder over the hadith in this regard, we see that the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when prohibiting these things, added that the children of Israel perished when their women started such acts. So this is also in Sahih Bukhari, Kitabul Libas. Uzur went further to say, then we also know that at the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, lewdness was common among the Jews. And at that time, there were several brothels, that's several, we call it, I think, Eliashewu in Yoruba. Even in Medina, there were several brothels, several Eliashewu in Medina, especially in the Jewish area. The women who were involved in this business will employ such tactics of embellishment to beguile the men. Hence, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbade believing women from using those means of enhancing a result in such an artificial change in the physical appearance of an individual. Then the distinction between man and woman, which God Almighty has created in human beings, vanishes, or there is a fear that this kind of action may lead to inclination towards shirk, which is the gravest of sins, or if these things are carried out in order to beguile the opposite sex in an impermissible manner, then all these actions would be considered unlawful and actionable. Three conditions have been mentioned here, or three reasons have been mentioned here by the Khalifa why these things may be considered unlawful. Number one, altering the creation of Allah. People who want to turn themselves to female from male, they want to do gender, they call it gender, I've forgotten the name, they have employed in the West now. You know, in the West now, they don't have just two genders. Here, you have male and female. When you want to fill a form to apply for a school in the West now, and they're asking for your gender, they will not just put male and female, they put male, female, transgender, or you prefer not to talk. You prefer not to mention your gender. So there are so many genders now, according to them. All these things are unlawful in Islam. That is the first reason. Then the second reason is if it leads to shirk. We have mentioned that some of those actions then were linked to shirk. They regarded them as inviting blessings to them. When your braids are very long, they believe the gods will be pleased with you. All these polytheistic beliefs were attached to those actions, and that was why they were unlawful in those days. Then the third reason why it could be unlawful even today is if those things are done to beguile men, to invite men for promiscuity. Then Uzur goes further to say, it was within this context of these vices that the Holy Prophet Muhammad forbade such things to the believing women. However, he also gave reasonable permission in exceptional circumstances on grounds of someone suffering or illness. Hence, it is narrated by Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu that سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى عن النامصة والواشرة والواصلة والواشمة إلا من داء. Meaning, I heard Allah's Messenger forbidding the plucking of hair, filing of the teeth, having artificial hair, or having tattoo done except on grounds of illness. Islam has made actions dependent on their intentions. Therefore, in this age, there is nothing wrong with a woman. Please let us listen carefully. Uzur says, therefore, in this age, there is nothing wrong with a woman making use of these things in a lawful way and for a legitimate purpose, as long as she is observing the Islamic injunctions regarding hijab. Nonetheless, if these actions lead to an inclination towards vices, or they lead to an expression of any polytheistic rituals or disobedience to a clear commandment of Islam, for example, if women do not take full care of their purdah or expose their private parts in front of other men, in front of other women, while having their waxing or other treatments, etc. done, then such actions will be counted among those against which we have been warned by the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they will be unlawful. Now, it is on this note, just this paragraph, I will explain. Uzur has said that even in this age, all this media of fashion, ways of adorning ourselves can be employed, provided the rule of hijab is not contravened. If you know you want to attach anything to your hair artificially, maybe because your husband has said he loves long hair or for whatever reasons, as long as you observe the rule of hijab, just know that you cannot make it to be too, let me say, too heavy as to make your hijab, make yourself somehow too noticeable when you move about in the street, so that people now start making reference to you, or to be too long that your hijab will not even cover it. Because whatever you do, every part of your hair in the Sharia, every part of your hair must be covered. So once everything is covered, when you go out, Uzur is saying it is something you can do. So now it is no more the response of Abdul Rafiq Alakai again It is now what Uzur has said that has been read to us. And I want to implore Dr. Saiba to also share this link with our sisters so that we can also read and digest what the Uzur has said. So this is what the Uzur has said. So there are other issues, under that particular post on that day. I think it was on 8th of April 2022. That was when this article was published on Al-Hakam. So that is that on attachment. So finally, what is expected of us, that should be the take home from today's engagement, is that the rule of Purda should be duly observed. It should be duly observed. And once we look at that and we take it very seriously, and all act of worship, once anything we call beauty does not come in between us and those obligatory things for which we have been created by Allah the Almighty, then Islam is not against us doing them, at least with what Uzur has said. But if we are going to contravene any basic rule of Islam, as Uzur has mentioned here, that you want to wax yourself now, you now expose your private parts to another woman, only the name of she's also a woman now. No, according to the Sharia, a man should not look at the private part of another man, and a woman should not look at the private of another woman. So if you now want to tattoo yourself now, you want to wax yourself, so you now open your private part for another woman to see. No, that is wrong. Those things are, so we can continue to ask questions on specific issues. No, in future, you can write the Uzur, you can write the Amir, you can ask questions from missionaries on specific things. That, okay, can we also do this? Can we do this? So Islam is not against we asking questions, but let us know that there are conditions for all these things, and the condition is worship and hijab. So I pray that may Allah the Almighty continue to be with us. I'm very sorry, sir, President Saiba, Dr. Saiba, for taking too much of our time, because I learned I was only given 30 minutes. So, and I'm sure I've exceeded that now. So I pray that may Allah the Almighty bless this gathering and make it a source of immense grace from Him for all of us. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Jazakallahu khairan jaza. Brother Abdul Rafiq Alaka, we pray Allah bless you and reward you abundantly. And next one, ma.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much for this. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah khairan.
We are hearing you, ma.
Hafiz, Jazakumullah khairan on behalf of Sada Ladna Mahila and all the Ladna members, to Hafiz Alaka for that lecture. It's actually something that is insightful and it's very educating. So we say big Jazakumullah khairan to our brother Abdul Rafiq Alaka. Jazakumullah khairan, may Allah continue to increase you in knowledge, in wisdom, and in piety. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dr. Abdul Salam.
Yes, ma.
Are we going to take the interactive session? We're supposed to have started things 3:10, and there's supposed to be question and answer also. I don't know how we're going to do it because they're really, really running behind time. I wouldn't know if people can drop their questions in the chat room, and then let's see the ones that brother can forward it to him and get the feedback from him. And we can also excuse him now.
You can get questions. The questions we have, you can entertain 1 or 2 questions, or 2 or 3 questions. Then probably after
him to respond.
After actually, can we reconvene? I don't know if that is possible. for
an
the
hour.
interactive section.
For an hour.
Ma?
For
For
1
an
hour.
hour after history.
Okay.
For 1 hour,
Okay,
yes,
so
ma.
yes. So
Okay,
let's
ma.
take 1 or 2 questions.
Okay, ma. Okay.
Ma'am,
I have
immediately
one
it's
question here.
4:10, 4:10, 4:15. We should reconvene.
Okay. Okay, ma. Okay. Inshallah. Bismillah. One question that we have received here is, what is the view of Islam on farming? Farming of the hair using relaxer. Then I have another one here. Yes, some people believe that you have said we can use makeup so much, so far we cover it, and also we can say our prayer on. We are allowed to combine prayers. Combination of prayer is necessitated because what does Islam says about that? I would have offered my zuhr at the right time, but because I know I can still offer my zuhr maybe towards Astri. So by that time, the party would have been over. Or probably I will be done. So I Astri because of the makeup that I don't want it to be washed away. So that's another question here. Then if I get you right, you said we can use any makeup, we can do anything. So far we can enlighten those. So 2 questions I have for now. Okay, I have another one here. Artificial lengthening of hair is not permissible. Does it mean the use of relaxer is also not permissible? I think that's part of what we have here. Coloring the hair, that is tinting the hair. I don't know if this was mentioned.
Okay. Okay.
Is it permissible to tint our hair? So
Yes.
that's about 4 questions.
Now, Assalamu alaikum to barakatuh. So number 1. So I think a question was repeated twice. The issue of relaxer. So the issue of relaxer was mentioned twice by 2 sisters. So one can use relaxer. Relaxer is not forbidden. So relaxer is permissible 100%. So you can use relaxer for your hair to soften your hair. So that's not a problem. Then if I wouldn't know whether I got the second questions correctly. The issue of combining Zuhr and Asr prayer, because Islam permits you to combine prayers. Yes, Islam permits you to combine prayers under certain conditions. Under certain conditions. The first question would be to ask whether what you are doing actually fulfill one of the conditions for which combining prayers is permitted. So because you cannot just say, okay, because Islam permits it, then I can just combine prayers at any time. No. In fact, it is very good if we know that what you are doing does not fall within those things that could make combination of prayers permissible, to go and pray. The Holy Prophet Islam is quoted to have said, "Afdalul a'mal as-salatu fi awwal waqtiha." The best of deeds is that you pray at the first time at the beginning of its time. The prayer time is a range. It's not a particular time like this. It's a range. Okay, when the sun, for instance, Salatul Zuhr now, when the sun leaves the horizon, when there's a slight deviation from the sun, from the center of the cloud, till so time. So that is the range. So anytime you pray, you have still prayed at the time of Salatul Zuhur. So that can happen around 12:30 to like 3:40 or 4 o'clock. It depends on your region. Now, if you decide to pray at 3, that is still the time of Zuhur. You say your own time is 2:30, it is still Zuhur. Your own time is 2:50, it is still Zuhur. So it is a range. But it has been said that the best is to observe that prayer at the first time, the first of its appearance. The time, so this is time for Zuhur. Maybe Zuhur is 12:30 to so time. So to observe it at 12:30 or around 12:30, 1:30 is the best. But if for whatever reason you want to delay it till like 3:30, that still falls within the time of Salatul Zuhur, you are still okay. But for you to say that you are going to delay the prayer simply because of your makeup, I mentioned that. That is not accepted at all. Uzura said, nothing should come between your fashion, your adornment, and the worship. Worship is worship, and we know that is obligatory. So it was not allowed to say you should go and use makeup. It is just a permissible act. It is mubah. It is permissible. And a permissible act should not come between you and a wajib. So because if you don't do makeup, you are not going to be punished. And the makeup you have done, you are getting no reward from it. Allah is not rewarding you because you are doing makeup. No. So Allah is not rewarding you because you are doing attachment, because you are doing relaxer. You are using relaxer on your hair to soften your hair. Allah is not rewarding you. That does not concern Allah. But if you are not praying, one is toying with Allah's punishment. May Allah not punish us. So saying that, okay, because I've used makeup, so let me delay the prayer till so time because I'm at a party. Who brought you to that party? Even that party that you have gone to is mubah, is not wajib. That you go to a party is mubah, is not wajib, it's not an obligatory act. So let us get these issues very correctly. So using makeup should not be the reason why you will not pray at a time. Then the coloring of hair. Yes, in the hadith, to tint one's hair is permitted once you are using other colors except black. That is permitted in the hadith. But I usually tell people, just like I've explained, once we say something is mubah, something is permitted, it does not mean that every permissible act should be done by you. It does not mean that since this thing is permissible, that's why I explained that doing it is earning you no reward, and not doing it is not earning you any punishment. And at times, you have to look at the local customs. People continue asking, okay, can I dye my hair, especially guys? Can I dye my hair to like brown, to like this? The question I ask them is this: in our own local setting here, in the Southwest or in Africa, once we see anybody moving about with a tinted hair, dyed into maybe like brown or what is the first impression about that person? Is that not so? Why would you want to be referred to as that, as a bad child? Or as a Yahoo boy? Simply because you have read one hadith that says it is permissible. So once is it permissible, does that now mean you have to do everything? The same thing applies to braid. It is found in the hadith that when the Holy Prophet Muhammad was migrating to Medina from Mecca, he entered Medina with 3 braids. He braided his hair into 3. An average Arab, just like those from the Far East, India and the rest, they have longer hair. Even some men, they may have long hair, as against we in Africa here. So it was easy for them to braid it. So in the hadith, the Prophet Muhammad braided his hair into like 4 braids or 3. I couldn't recollect vividly, maybe 3 or 4. Now some people are now saying, okay, that means I can also braid my hair. The first question is, what will you use for your hair to make it longer as a man? I'm not talking of a woman, so that you can now start braiding it. So who told you that the Prophet ﷺ used relaxer on his own hair for it to be that long so that he can braid it? So we should understand all these things. Yes, something is permissible. There are other local customs. So we should strike a balance between the two. If anybody does it, we will not say you are doing something wrong or you are committing a sin. But at the same time, it is not desirable looking at our own local custom here. So that is my answer for that. If let's say, for instance, a woman wants to dye her hair now, to what color? And all those people who dye their hair as ladies, do we even deem them to be noble ladies in our own local settings? So why would you want to put yourself in that WhatsApp group of Fawamo Buruku? So it's not advisable. But that does not mean that anybody that does it is going against any known verdict of Islam. So I think I've attended to all the questions asked. So is it compulsory to cover our feet while praying? No, it is not. It is not compulsory. Though this is somehow contentious among scholars, but the majority of the scholars have the opinion that it is not compulsory. So if you can do it, it is fine. But if you are not doing it, then you are not contravening any rule. So you can pray without you covering your feet, not your thigh now, just your feet. Then is locking of the hair allowed in Islam? Dr. Saiba, what is the meaning of locking of the hair? You know, I don't belong to, I'm the only odd person here. So what does it mean to lock one's hair? Dr. Saiba? Okay, Dr. Saiba is not here. Okay, maybe I will just go to another question. Somebody is asking whether nail polish. Yes, we have explained that it is permissible. Zura said it. That you can use nail polish and you can perform ablution with it. So it does not matter. Yes, plucking of hair. So somebody is asking for trimming of eyebrow. It is one of the things Uzur mentioned here, that those things were done by ladies who were of questionable character during the lifetime of Muhammad Islam, and that was why it was prohibited. But if for whatever reason one is doing it now for a permissible reason, you are not doing it to invite men, and it is not associated with any polytheistic belief, then one can do it. So that is the position of Islam now, according to the Khalifa. Okay, locking of hair. Yes, locking of hair means dreadlocks.
Yeah, it's dreadlocks. Yeah.
Now, the same thing will be applicable to the issue of attachment and this dreadlock. You know, I mentioned something that when you plait your hair, whether you add anything to it or you don't add it, and it is now very high. And even when you use hijab, you will have passed and your hair will still be behind you, like a minaret. And people will now be pointing fingers at you. So you are unduly calling attention. So that will be discouraged. That will be discouraged unless if there's a way you will do it that you will not be so high as to make you the center of focus for everybody. So I've seen so many people have answered that locking of hair means dada. Yes, I've seen it, dreadlock. So then maybe this issue of dada, there's nothing like dada in Islam. Maybe if you are talking of the artificial dada, the artificial dreadlock that people are doing now, but the one that is by birth, there's no room for that in Islam, because when a child is born, it is the sunnah that you barb that child, be it a male or female. So there's no how that person will grow up to be a dada. So that is not permissible at all. So what is permissible in Islam is that once a child is born, you take off but if it's the artificial dada that people are now doing now, so it can fall under braiding your hair, and the same rule will apply. Islam's take on using toning cream. Once you are using toning cream, you are, I think there's a name they use for it now, body scraping. Yes, they use some chemicals to scrape the body. And when you see the way they are doing, that is not permissible. That is not one of the things that are permissible. That is not at all. Uzud mentioned it here, that anything that informs, that gives the idea of you trying to alter the creation of Allah is not permissible. So if Allah has created you black, dark, and you are not content with that, you want to make yourself white, that is not permissible. So you have to maintain your skin. That is not fashion. That is not fashion. So using toning cream is not fashion. So you are altering the creation of Allah. And in fact, it is not only the hadith that prohibit this, even the Quran. Allah says it is one of the ways of the shaitan. Wala udillannahum, wala umanniyannahum, wala amurannahum, fala yubattikunna adhan al-an'am, wala amurannahum, fala yughayyirunna khalqallah. That shaitan was promising, and he was saying vehemently that because you, Allah, you are forsaking me, this servant of yours, I will mislead them. And one of the ways he will mislead them is, I will make sure that they alter your creation. The way you have created them, I will not make them to be content with it. I will incite them so that they will change it. So it is one of the ways of shaitan. So let us desist from toning our body. That is not in any way permissible. If you are black, you are black. And if you are white, you are white. Now, somebody is saying, is spamming not altering the creation of Allah? I think it's the same thing I've explained now. So anything that will change your skin color, anything that will change your skin color, that will give that false idea that somebody that should be that is originally black, you now turn to white suddenly. That is not fashion. That is against the dictates of Islam. You shouldn't do that at all. So you are altering the creation of Allah the Almighty. I've said that. Then somebody said, some mullah says that nail polish is haram, maybe because of water must touch. No. Uzur says there is no distance between the polish and no difference between the polish and your nails. So you can perform ablution. You can perform ablution with it. So that is the Jamaat stand. No piercing and use of leg chain permissible. All these things, I've said it depends on your own local custom. In some places, in every place, they have their way of adorning themselves. And Uzul said it that even during the lifetime of Islam, the Arabs were also adorning themselves, especially on their Nikah day. There is a way they adorn their women according to the customs there. So we may not say that because something was not done among the Arabs, then you cannot do it here in Africa. No. So if nose piercing is one of the ways of adorning ourselves in our own local custom, then Islam has said nothing against it. Islam has said nothing against it. Just like we pierce the hair, it may interest you to note that in some places they may not even pierce the hair of a girl. Maybe they don't deem it fit, and it is not one of the ways by which they adorn themselves. So because it is not a general rule that every lady must use earrings, it is not general. So you may come across the people now who don't do that. So then the same thing is applicable to leg chain. But make sure that if you want to use leg chain, just like your necklace now, you cannot use necklace and not cover it. Your hijab should cover your neck now. So you want to use neck chain, make sure you are not exhibiting it for us to see.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakumullahu khairan jaza, our able lecturer. May Allah continue to increase you in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. May Allah bless you immensely for this time out, for this well-delivered lecture on this topic. We appreciate you, and we pray Allah appreciate you very much. I will pray this lecture will be beneficial to every one of us that are listening to it. The lecture seems inexhaustible because it's 4 o'clock already, and we still have so many questions unanswered. You were talking about the nail polish. Some people have sent something here. Okay, that's okay. If nail polish is allowed, then what about the idea that says that on the day of Yom Kippur, my woman will be known because of because of their life due to the ablution they perform. So many issues are still to be discussed, inshallah. After Salatul Asri, we'll reconvene, inshallah, because don't log off. Still maintain your tempo so that we can have this question. Thank you, our sister Maria Muritada. May Allah bless you immensely for the screen sharing and for collecting the question on the screen. So NS1, ma, can we have the suspension dua? So we go for Salatul Asri, ma. Okay, let's start. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. We reconvene after Salatu Asri, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Don't go away with your questions. Please, we still have about 1 hour and we, inshallah, we take your questions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We welcome every one of us back to the second part of the webinar. We pray Allah accept this as ibadah from every one of us. And we pray that this gathering, this particular evening, will be a witness for us and never be a witness against us in this world as in the hereafter. Active section 2, I have the honor of inviting this discussant. I have Professor Yusuf Habib from Region 7. Sister Aisha Agbaje from Ila, who happens to be the AMSWA National President. All of them have been invited to gather here today to interact, to discuss on the issue of my fashion, my worship within the theme, fashion within the framework of Islam. So, Professor Yusuf Ma, Sister Aisha, and Sister Mordia, can you please signify by raising up your hand? Signify your presence by raising up Mordia and Ilade. Sister Aisha. Okay. I'm waiting for our mommy, Professor Yusuf. It's going to be an interactive section, so we are free to send in our questions and ask them. Here we have some of the following. Please, can you please unmute yourself and say salam alaikum to the house? Sister Aisha.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And Sister Mordia.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, ma'am.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So you are most welcome. We are awaiting the arrival of Professor Yusuf Habib. And she's there, she should just raise up her hand, her palm. Okay. Yes, we've listened to the lecture on fashion, and the lecturer has said it all. But now, within ourselves, amongst ourselves, let's talk about fashion. What should be, is there a fashion for a particular place and a fashion for a particular period, a fashion for a particular time in the life of a Muslim? Sister Aisha. Please unmute yourself and talk.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
As the question you raised, ma, fashion is Islam. I think as our amiable brother has given us the lecture earlier on, Islam permits fashion. And according to the Holy Quran, and as a Muslim generally, our life is based on the teachings of the Holy Quran. It's like a guidance for us all, as well as the act of the Prophet. So I would say that fashion is like a lifestyle, something we do every day of our life, not just for a particular season, not just for a particular location, because every day we dress up, we go out for different activities. For the students, they go to school. For parents, they go to work and all. So I think fashion is a lifestyle, and it should be something everyone should understand the Islamic aspect of it. And I think if I would be asked, okay, what is fashion in Islam? I think Islam and fashion, and okay, for instance, in Islam, the goal of our life as a Muslim or a Muslim woman is to serve Almighty Allah. As Almighty Allah mentioned in the Holy Quran, that our goal as Muslims is nothing but to worship Almighty Allah in the best manner. As we have seen in Surah Al-Dariyat, Quran 1 verse 57, that the main goal of life is true worship of Almighty Allah, and that true worship demands that we should resign ourselves to the will of God and exercise all our faculties for His glory. So I would say that everything we do, as I've said, that it's like fashion is a lifestyle. Everything we do should be tied to this goal, which is to worship Allah. So I think if we have this as a foundation of everything we are doing, it will make everything easier. It should make everything easy for us all. As lecturer has said earlier. All right.
Jazakallah khairan. Jazakallah khairan. What I'm driving at is that if I go to work, the kind of fashion I will employ is different from the kind of fashion I will employ while coming to mosque. Is there a permissibility on that in Islam? Sister Moridia.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin for the success of the program so far. And to answer this question, the Quran itself has given us a perfect answer, and you can find it in Surah Al-Ahzab and also in Surah Al-Nur. Almighty Allah has specially designed for a Muslim woman a particular way to dress. This goes beyond
the wherever you are.
Yes, ma. Yes, ma. So this goes beyond us being in a particular place or in a particular situation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Ahzab that He has commanded the wives of the prophets, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also the women of the believers, that they should draw to themselves their loose outer coverings. That is to say, they should cover up themselves with a piece of cloth, apart from their inner wears. And this perfectly explains what the hijab should look like. Now, if we come to our surroundings or in our society, people have different interpretations of this verse. People have different interpretation of what the hijab means. So some people, you dressing to the office and you dressing to the mosque doesn't mean anything to them. They wear their cap to work and they wear the same cap to their offices, to the masjid. Some people believe that hijab goes beyond the cap. The hijab should cover the chest, but it doesn't need to cover the buttocks. As long as you wear your pashmina, you can wear your pashmina to the office and also pashmina to the mosque. Also, people interpret hijab as a covering that must cover the head, the bosom, the buttocks, and even the feet. So they believe that they can wear this to their workplaces, they can wear this to the party, they can wear this to the mosque. Now, irrespective of what the interpretation of the hijab means to different people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has maintained the standard of the hijab in the Quran that the hijab should cover our beauty from our head to our toes. So this means that the hijab should cover our bosom and also our buttocks. Now, coming to fashion, how do you fashionize your hijab to make it cover what Allah has said it should cover, and also to maintain the beauty that you want to maintain as a Muslim woman? That is not left to every one of us to interpret it in ourselves. No matter how fashionable you want to look with your hijab, you should also follow the commandments that Allah has stated in the Holy Quran. And this is not confined to a particular place. It's confined to every single place that we may be as Muslim women.
Barakallahu fi. Jazakallah khairan. If I get the two of you right, whatever, however we want to fashionize ourselves, it must have bearing to that verse of the Quran that says, Inna salati wa nusuki wa moyaya wa momoti lillahi rabbil alamin. That surely my life, my living, my sacrifice, my death, everything is for Allah. We are doing everything to worship Allah. And now that takes us to the next question, that if you look at the makeups are so much expensive, and we say that we can use it, but we have the permissibility to use makeup. If we use this makeup, we are told we should cover it according to the molaka that Uzur had with the Nigerian clergy, that if you use makeup, you must money invested in the makeup and the eventual covering of the makeup. How does it tally with one another as a Muslim? Sister Aisha.
Jazakumullah khairan, ma. As a Muslim, using makeup as our Uzura guided us, he said it's permissible for us to use, but with the exception that we have to cover ourselves up. And I think all this is actually tied to our body image, because
Continue.
if, as a Muslim, generally we interact with different cultures, different members of the society daily in our lives. And as we all know, humans are prone to imitate what other people are doing. So in this regard, as I said, okay, positive self-image is what matters a lot. As Muslims, we tend to see, okay, everybody is using this thing, I can also use it. But in the real sense, as a Muslim, even though it's permissible that we can use this thing, there's the hadith of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, where he told us that we should leave what we are doubtful of to what we are not doubtful of. So this put me to the point that, okay, if makeup is actually permissible for us to use, we all know that we are not all using powder, and we might not be in the same level of circumstance to adopt powder. So hence, we all want to use makeup, but at the same time, we can't always say that because it's permissible and I can use it and I'm not covering my face. How does that leave us? So I think the most important thing for us all is to identify what actually matters. For instance, for me, makeup has a degree. That's the way I see it. Because if I say, okay, I woke up now, I'm going out for work or for any other activity, I think it's best, as they said, that Allah loves purity. It's best for me to look my best in the best manner, both my face, my outfit, and everything. That's for me to look good, and I should be able to present myself well as a Muslim woman. So I think that is where the aspect of makeup comes in. I want to make sure my face looks good. It's enough that I can, okay, say, let me use a little powder to make sure my face is not oily. Let me try and get a balm so that my lips is not cracky and all. But that's a degree. And there's another degree of saying, okay, I want to look my best. I have to apply this. I have to cover or conceal some acne spots on my face. I want to conceal this and that. That is another degree. So I would say that if all these are in place, and as a Muslim, why should we stress ourselves instead of trying to please what the society wants or what we want? So I think as a Muslim, I would rather say that we should stay in what we know. Even though, as the lecturer said, that it's mubah, that is permissible, we should at least ask ourselves, is this really, really important? Do I have to have this heavy makeup on? Sorry to divert. During this last Eid, a Christian friend sent me a message and said she's at a garden in Alausa, Lagos here, and that she saw that Muslims came there to pray their Eid prayers. And she was taken aback when she saw that Muslim ladies were all cranked up in heavy makeup. And she had to send the voice note to me that, Aisha, what's wrong? I thought you said ablution is really, really important. How did they perform the ablution? And I had to tell her, okay, what they would tell us is they performed ablution before they left their home. And she said, what if they invalidated the ablution before getting to the Eid prayer? And I said, that's left to God to judge. But as a Christian, getting close to Muslims, know that being in a state of ablution is very important in Islam. And that with makeup, heavy makeup on, you can't tell me that you are performing or you are in a state of ablution without makeup on. And as the lecturer said, if we are intentional about all we do, we should know that if I'm actually performing proper ablution and washing my face properly, that makeup will be gone. So that's where I will conclude that as Muslims, we should actually leave anything that is doubtful. We should focus on what actually is important to us. If we are on powder, it's permissible. You can use your makeup, as you said, cover up and that's it, or in your house. But when we are going out, I think to leave what is not left to be arguing about, just decide, okay, I don't want to use makeup, and you go out on your daily activity. But even at that, majorly, purification is the most important thing. And ablution, that is what ablution has come to teach us. And Mr. Salam said that as a Muslim, being in a state of wudu is really, really important to us as a Muslim. And it guides us, it protects us from shayateens and some other things. So I think if we understand all these rulings, it is even better for us to know that, okay, I have to always be in a state of ablution, no matter where I'm going, wherever what I'm doing. And if I know I want to use makeup and everything, I should make sure it's covered. But if I'm not being in further, the best thing is to leave it. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, ma.
Oh, I guess probably the network issue from my end.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, ma.
I think Sister Dr. Rofia is having network issues. I can't see her online again. Probably having network issues, but she has actually um, shared the screen. What of a nurse working in a psychiatric? The question is, what of a nurse working in a psychiatric hospital or an engineer working where machines can easily get hold of and injure you? What type of hijab is prescribed for these lines of work? I think the Madia should take that. Jazakumullah.
Jazakumullah khairan. Yes, it's like a continuation of my former question, which is talking about if hijab is necessary or what kind of hijab is needed for different kind of situations. Before I answer this question, ma'am, I would love to use myself as an example. I am a science student and I mostly work in the laboratory and I mostly deal with chemicals. So using myself as an example and with the kind of hijab I use, I actually use a khimar. When I'm in the laboratory, I have an overall, a lab coat that I use over my khimar. So this lab coat covers up my hijab and makes it very much comfortable for me to work in the lab. And once I'm done with my laboratory work, I pull off my lab coat and I go on with my khimar. So a nurse working in a psychiatrist hospital or an engineer, what kind of hijab is prescribed for this line of work? Obviously, you shouldn't use an hijab that would make you get injured because hijab, the purpose of the hijab is not to make you feel injured. One, we should not forget that the basic purpose of us using the hijab is to make us distinguished as Muslim women. What makes you look like a Muslim woman is the hijab you put on. What makes you look like a Muslim woman and differentiates you from a regular woman is what you put on, is the hijab you put on. So definitely you are wearing the hijab. You wouldn't give an excuse that because you're working in the hospital, you would open your hair. That one is definitely of the right thing. But then you are in a psychiatrist hospital or you are in an engineering workshop. Once you're there, there's an overall for you. I have a younger sister that is an engineering student and she goes to the lab. She works in the lab. Once you're in the lab, you are using your overall. There's an overall for all engineers. Irrespective of what kind of hijab you use, the overall will cover it. And once you're done in the workshop, you pull off your overall and you're going. I have a pharmacist working in the hospital, she's a Nikobi, and I know that most of us know her before she migrated, Pharmacist Adam. She's a Nikobi, and when she gets to the hospital, because she has to interact with her patient, she pulls off the Nikob because it is voluntary. But she doesn't pull off her hijab because it is compulsory. And giving them this, and even in the Western states, they use their hijab, but when they're in the hospital, they cover up with their doctor's overall or the doctor's lab coats. Or when they're in the laboratory or anywhere they are, they use the overall, and then it doesn't stop them from practicing the hijab wearing. So I believe that irrespective of what kind of work we do, it doesn't remove that ayat, that modesty that we should observe from us. It just depends on how you comport yourself with your hijab. Many people, they believe that we are meant to drag the hijab on the ground. The hijab is meant to look like this. It must look like this. Yes, the hijab has a standardization, but then it doesn't stop you from doing your work or going to a particular workplace. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us understand this concept. Jazakumullah khairan.
Barakallahu fi. Thank you, man. Jazakumullah khairan. The issue of toning and screen scraping, virtually, there was a time I got that the 80% of Nigerians are using bleaching cream, or that bleaching is now one of the most rampant disease or issues that NAFDAC is facing now. So as Muslims, we have been told that we are not allowed to bleach. Any other medical or negative influence or negative effect of these bleaching creams? Sister Aisha.
Jazakumullah khairan. Health-wise, there are negative effects of bleaching cream on babies, young women, and even older women. Generally, there had been talk over the years on even young babies that they are being bleached, and it really resulted into high and severe impact on their health. For instance, a child recently was diagnosed with kidney problem and was actually linked to the fact that the mother has been bleaching her skin since she was a baby. Generally, it has been a concept that has been on for a while in this part of the world, and there has been education and sensitization of society on it, that the effects are actually adverse, and that women especially, and even men do it, women especially should desist from doing such. I think it boils down to how we see ourselves. And that's exactly what Islam has come to do for women. As we have known that Almighty Allah has sent the Prophet to liberate Muslim women. Because we were made to believe, even in the Western world, that you have to look a certain type, you have to look a certain way before you accept it. And with the concept of hijab, Almighty Allah gave the ruling in the Quran so that women can understand that even while you're covering yourself, He has emphasized that there are blessings embedded in these things. So I think it all boils down to how we see ourselves. I was reading a blog recently on a woman, on this, we all know this Kardashian family. And one of their interviews, one of them was saying that she would not want her child, or she has not given birth yet, but when she gives birth, she won't want her daughter to follow her footsteps because she's actually regretting some of the steps she took in life. This is to say, and these women are the ones where our young women in this part of the world, especially Africa, are looking up to as models. They do all sorts, from using different creams, microblading their eyebrows, using all sorts of makeup, encouraging young women, especially from Africa, to adopt their lifestyle. So I think it all boils down to how we appreciate who Almighty Allah has made us to be. And Allah is a just and equitable God, as we have known that that's one of the attributes. For Him to have created us as blacks, it's for a reason. And we all have degrees. We have some people that are among are fair and all. So I think it all boils down to how we see ourselves. Are we appreciative of what good God Almighty Allah has made us to be? Because if we are, we would look beyond being beautiful in the eyes of the society. That okay, you have to be fair or look like this before you accept it. So I think there's adverse effects mentally, physically, and socially. Because in the environment, such people, after a while, their skin continues to bleed if they don't stop on time. And even if it gets worse, they don't even they won't be able to go out. Because I've read on the case of a bleaching woman, or a bleached woman, whereby her skin, she was so bleached to an extent that her skin was smelling and she couldn't even go out. So I think if we understand that, apart from the Islamic ruling on these things, health-wise, it is not good. It has adverse impact. You might not see the impact now because all these chemicals are going into our bloodstream. And over the years, this works in our body. And if you even understand, now we have so many non-communicable diseases. And with what the WHO is clamoring on, there are so many sides to this thing. And if we don't check ourselves to understand that all the chemicals we are putting on our body is actually entering our body through the veins in our skin, we know that some of the problems people identify later in life might be linked to all the screens. So I think we should understand that apart from the Islamic ruling, it has a very detrimental effect on our health and
thank you so much.
Ourselves.
Thank you so much for that beautiful response. I also have answered that one before, that some questions that we answer that, okay, professionals, you use a small hijab or you put on a particular kind of clothing. I think that as the answer. If it is doctors Sorry, the network logged me out again. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
The question is asked here, what is microblading? Okay, I was talking about the professionals. If you must wear a short hijab on your nursing clothes or on your professional wear, then the professional wear, like the ustaz told or so can we audio breaking up and on? Yes. Can we answer the question, what is microblading? I'm hearing that for the first time.
Microblading. Well, in fact, I'm hearing it for the first time too, but then
maybe the person can shed more light on that. It's microblading. Wa alaikum salam barakatuh. Wa alaikum salam.
Actually, it's a recent concept on Muslim women and women generally use in makeup. Microblading is a form of a new method. They use that microblade. It's like a handheld machine that is used to draw eyebrows. Now, they use that to make it permanent. You know, the normal thing is when you're doing makeup, you have to do your eyebrows, and they believe that that is causing so much time and stress. So why not have a permanent eyebrow whereby they will shave off the original eyebrows that you have, then they use the microblade to draw a new one and insert hair pigment on your brows. So that's what microblading is.
Subhanallah. All in the name of fashion.
The one is permanent. They believe it stresses them to draw eyebrows every day, every time. So that's it. Once it's permanent, you don't have to stress yourself with how it looks or not.
Unfortunately, we don't have our doctors around here. I would have asked, what do we do? Is even the usage of eyebrow, is it allowed in Islam, or is it medically good? Is allowed?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, ma.
Walaikum salam wa barakatuh.
From my little knowledge about the medical sciences, it's very, 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 very common. Any sharp object or any piercing object that is used on different kind of people, they have the ability to make contact with their internal body system, and then most of the time, if these sharp objects are contaminated, they can actually cause infection to these set of individuals that use them. That's on the medical side of it. Now, if we look at the Islamic aspect of it, I think there's an hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Sunnah Abu Dawud that says that any woman or any person that tries to change or alter the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to taste the blazing fire. So if we look at this concept of microblading, just like Mrs. Aisha Agbaje has explained, it is complete altering of your natural eyebrows in the name of you want to have a permanent one that you think it's better than the one that was there before. So you believe that the one you want to apply, the one you want to do that.
Okay. Jazakumullah khairan. Jazakallah khairan. I think we have Professor Jazakallah khairan, Sister Mardia. So, for microblading, to put a permanent one, we should be careful not to tamper, not to change the nature which Allah has created. Then we have Professor Yusuf here in the house now. Professor Yusuf, can you please signify by raising up your hand so we can unmute you? I saw her name now. Professor Habib Yusuf. Okay. We are about rounding up the Kudratillahi Azim. I have another question here, and that is about Botox enlargement and Botox reduction. What is the Islamic point of view on that? Professor Yusuf, Professor Munira Yusuf Habib. Okay. We don't have a response yet. She has to unmute. Oh, our discussant, what is Islamic point of view on Botox reduction and enlargement and tummy talking? Sister Aisha.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, ma.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I think Islam's injunctions on make body talking or tummy talking, both or Botox enlargement or reduction.
Yes.
Generally in Islam, even as our lecturer has said, that all some of the things you do that are permissible might not get rewarded. You know? For instance, if generally a breast enlargement might be that you don't like the way or how small your breast or Botox is, and you go all out to change how it looks. It can be through different methods. It can be through using natural drugs or herbs, or the use of chemical drugs. And whereas some people even go all out for surgery to do a reduction or enlargement. And I think I've seen a Muslim scholar say that it's permissible if the person involved is not doing it in a way that is not allowed. That was the fight. And I've also read somewhere that in Islam it is not permissible because we are actually altering the way God created us. In general, as a Muslim, the best we should have done is if we should check our intention. Why do I want to reduce my breast or why do I want to increase it? If as a woman you eventually get married and you get pregnant or you're about to give birth, definitely the size of your breast will never remain the same. So if it's it was a certain size area, definitely once you are married or you start giving birth, it will increase. So that's
Has
like
Prof been able to unmute her?
that's like the natural method. So I think all we should put at of our mind, does God really permit this thing? Once it's altering what God actually intended, you go extra mile to look for a solution outside of what God has done naturally. I think it's not permissible.
Jazakallah khaira. If all we are saying all the while is that, okay?
Hello?
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, ma. Assalamu alaikum, ma.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm sorry, my system has been misbehaving. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah. My own submission on the whole thing, especially the whether boot up or boot up down or whatever, everything boils down to the fact that we should be contented with whatever nature Allah has given. Nature Allah has given us. Every woman is made and born beautiful. We are all beautiful. It is just due to lack of contentment that will make us add something to the buttocks, to the breast, we can't increase our height, for example. But why would you now want to add to your buttocks or add to your breast or flatten your tummy because you want to look beautiful, you want to look more beautiful and more attractive? To whom, at where, when, how? When Allah has given us such beauty. So to me, I don't think all these are necessary. Rather, we should concentrate on things that will strengthen our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just like it has been submitted by the lecturer, that everybody is created to worship Allah. And whatever we can do to strengthen that is what we should concentrate on, not what we are going to do to please every other person around us, other men, other women, or what would they say? How would they talk? No, let them talk, let them say, they must talk. Even if you are two people talk about you. If you are ugly, people talk about you. So why don't you leave your own self to your own disposition and let people talk about you rationally? And whatever they are going to say, you think can make you happy with Allah and will not disturb or make you be negligent of your duty to Allah in your worship, in carrying out your duty, your responsibilities to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is what we should concentrate on. There's this point I also want to make. Some say that we can do adornment for a girl child, maybe under 10 years, that after all, they don't have any sunat on their head or whatever. Well, to me, the way you bring up your girl child is the way the girl child will grow up to be at adult age. So a child you have been putting so much attachment on her hair, definitely will grow up into the university and become an attached wearer and attach all sorts of things on her body. So it's better we don't even make them grow with it. It's better we stop it right from the one. They say catch them young, then you have them right at old age. So because some people so
okay, don't go away, ma. Don't go yet, man. There is this question waiting for you.
I'm still around here.
This question waiting for you that, okay, be an academy, be in academics generally, your profession, probably you are on ResearchGate, you need to upload your picture, you are on these many other publication or research or whatever.
Exactly.
So, and Uzo said that we should not upload our picture on social media.
Upload our pictures.
So, or if you are on the people, it increases your visibility in your profession. Yes. So, what do we do?
In that way, I think if the profession requires that, which in most cases it does, we can still do it with some level of decency. For example, if you must upload your picture, do it with some level of decency. You are in hijab, it's only your face, your outer face, the outer part that will appear, yes. That is still decent enough. But why? But if you now say because they say we must expose, we must put our pictures there, upload our pictures, then you do it so that you look beautiful. Anybody who see your picture on the maybe publication will say, oh, this is a beautiful woman. Look at her long hair. Look at it. Then you are you are inviting promiscuity. So we can still do it decently while trying to protect to project our profession, at the same time protecting our own religious obligation. But sincerely speaking, there are some that you must upload, and until you do that, you can't even submit.
Yes. Thank you, ma. And there is this that if your husband that is asking you to do a kind of faction, to uphold a certain kind of faction because of temptation they face from that woman outside. Must you also go along with the directive of your husband?
You can go along with him, but with him.
With him.
With him. If we borrow a leaf from the Arab, for a typical Arab woman, the way they cover themselves outside is not the way they cover themselves inside. I've lived with a lot of Arab women within their house, within the confine of their home. They expose themselves, they dress anyhow, but the children will not be there. It is just me and my husband. You can be in your pants, you can be in your bra, and with your husband move. Let him see, let him appreciate every part of you. And if it means you have to adore yourself for him, yes, do that and adore yourself, but let him be the one, let him be the only one that will appreciate you. Whatever he's looking for in the other lady outside, ask him, let him, when you know, then you do it for him. For example, ironically, some of our ladies, when they're even in the house, they dress shabbily. You see that you put with your breast, no bra, nothing, and then you tie your wrapper, you are in there because you and your husband in the house. And when you are going out, you dress the other way. It should be the other way around. Dress for him in the house. When you are going out, dress decently. Yes, that your husband and your husband are in the house during the weekend. That does not mean you should look shabby. Wake up very early in the morning, dress up, do your makeup, put on your perfume, and it's you and him in the house. Let him perceive that perfume on you. Let him see that beauty in you. Then when you are going to your workplace on Monday, then your dressing should be very, very decent. So do it for him if you want it, but not to go and do it for someone. And let him realize why you are doing it just for him, not for any other man outside. Because men are naturally jealous. The day he realizes that you are doing it again for someone outside, he is not going to trust you again. So we have to be very, very clever in doing it, in making it for our husband. Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. At this point, I want to appreciate every one of us for coming. I am highly indebted to Allah the Almighty, who has made it possible for us to gather here this evening and has created this opportunity. Once again, like I said at the beginning, that I pray and pray that this opportunity we had this evening will not be a witness against us on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah. So, my sisters, I hope we have all heard about fashion. Islam supports fashion. We are meant to be fashionable, but within the permissibility of Islam. And the permissibility that goes against obligatory must never be adopted. That's what the lecturer has told us. Yes, our hijab, yes, Ahmadi women will use hijab. Our hijab must be such that we cover everything that is meant to be covered. And our clothes must not be loose enough, not tight fitted, so as to expose the shape of our body. I know my young ladies are not many here because it's a relative time when you say how tight is tight. Mommy, this clothes is not tight now. Mommy, this one is stretchy. That's why it's going up. So, but what should be the bottom line of our action and inaction should be lillahi wa rasulihi. Everything we do must be for Allah alone and His apostle. Whatever we do, inna salati wa nusuki wa moyaya wa momoti lillahi rabbil alamin. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my living, and my and next one, ma'am, we appreciate our discussion. Prof, I'm happy that you are able to come in.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Whatever the contribution you have given us, even within the short time you joined us. Sister Aisha and the answer president, I hope Sister Mordia, you'll be able to carry your sisters along, that they should not see you. Yes, you are wearing kimor. They also can wear anything. So far, it goes along with taqwa. They can wear anything. That's what the lecturer said, that you can wear anything. So far, it goes along with the fear of Allah. Walibasu taqwa zalika khair. That's what the Quran says. The best clothing, the best garment is that garment of righteousness. May Allah clothe us with the garment of righteousness. Amen. Sister Aisha, we are also grateful to you. We had invited some cosmetologists before, but they couldn't come in due to network issue. And okay, she said most of the things she intended to say has been said. So she'll compose a synopsis of this seminar to be shared on our social media for everyone to benefit, especially the young ladies. We will try, inshallah, to compose the synopsis. May Allah make it easier for us. We want to appreciate our Sada, even though she is on the move. She has called during the program to ask how far we are doing. We are equally grateful to NS1 for standing in for the Sada. She has been with us from the beginning. She has another meeting to join. We pray Allah continue to be with you all. So I want to say Jazakumullah khaira to every one of us that has the opportunity to join this program this evening. Jazakallah khaira once again. And next one, ma, we have the closing remark and the closing prayer. And next one, ma.
I have double honor, closing remark and closing prayer. Okay. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin. Jazakumullah khairan to the lecturers, to the discussants, and to the participants, and even to the organizer. the Tarbiyah, led by the Tarbiyah secretary, Dr. Rafiat Abdulsalam. He said, Jazakumullah khairan for this program. It's a topical issue, something that is needed, and I'm very sure that everybody that participated today, they picked one thing or the other, and they are guided by the lectures and the discussion from the and the words of wisdom from the discussant as well. As a way of closing remark, I'm not going to say much or repeat the lectures we said, and but I'm very, very sure some things are really, really ringing bells in our ears. I just want to draw our attention to the fact that the verse of the Holy Quran that was read at the beginning of this program is a key verse. That verse, that particular verse, that's Surah Al-Azab, chapter 33, verse 60, should be read in conjunction with Quran 24, verse 32. You read those two together and pick the commentary at Khalifa Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Hamad. We should go and read that commentary on it, detailing it. I mean, it's not out of place. It's not really out of what the lecturer has been telling us from the beginning. Key things we should know, whatever beautification. Yes, the lecturer said the fashion is allowed in Islam. Yes, you can be fashionable. We've seen it. Yes, you can wear things these things, and then you can beautify yourself. We've been told that yes, Allah is God of beauty and He loves beauty. We've heard that from the lecturer during his lecture, and we've heard from our sister discussing too. Yes, you can actually dress. You can be fashionable, even with your kimar. You can be fashionable with it. It all depends on the way you want it, but then it must not fall short of three key things that they said. You must not utter creation of Allah. It must not lead you to shirk. The moment you are particular about the gown more than your prayer, more than your worship, then it's turning to shirk. So it must not lead you to shirk. And then you must not do it to the purpose that you want to wear it. I want people to say, your kimar is nice, or your hijab is lovely, and all those things. We should be careful. I think that is the key thing about what we learned here. No matter the niyat. Your niyat should precede anything anything we're doing. Our niyat should precede it. When you read that Quran 33:60, it says when you are going out, put on your outer garment. And for what reasons? So that you are not molested. You are distinguished. You can easily be identified. When people see you, they say that. For instance, I'll give you an example. If you see two people, see somebody that is wearing kimar, well dressed, and passes through, go to back of Mandela building at Tinubu and walk through there. And see another person that is not wearing that, a young lady. If you pass there, you see the harassment they will give somebody that is not properly dressed. Compare it with somebody that the moment they see you that you're in your hijab and everything, say, Alaja, Hajia, they will not, never, they give you that respect. They will not molest you, they will not harass you. That respect is given. That is what hijab commands. And that is what we're told. That's the commandment of the Quran. For me, I think we should not be asking questions, we should not be doing things. Yes, they said Yoruba say only bere okishino. He who asks questions wants clarification. So, yes, I agree. But then don't let our questioning be because you know what you want to do. They know what they want to do, and they know what they want to do contradict the commandments and the teachings of Allah. They know. They're just looking for where to just hide and then do that thing. So if that is the intention, you know that you're committing, you are going against the injunction of Almighty Allah. You are also uttering creation of Allah if that's what you're doing, and you're also committing shirk. So for me, we should tread carefully when it comes to this fashion. Even some of the hijab we use, the one we buy this day, it's gone beyond things. You see some of them full of stones. You understand? There was one I picked one day I wanted to wear. At the end of the day, I had to use the reverse side because everything was just shining everywhere. I mean, we should be cautious. Are we dressing up to attract people outside? Are we dressing up because we want to be identified as a Muslim? Those are questions for us that we should ask. It's not for you to wear jeans, you wear a top, a small top, you now put an hijab and say, yes, you are a Muslim lady. You're a Muslim. Yes, you are a Muslim, but does your dressing portray you as a Muslim? The fact that you have an hijab on does not mean that dressing is okay because your buttocks and everything is out. And meanwhile, the commandment of the Quran says, cover it up, use an outer garment, which you have not used. You are just with your jeans and your top, and you're going about the campus. We should be very, very careful, and we should not ask questions like one of the discussants said. He said, where you are not clear. I mean, the hadith is clear about that. He said, something that is shady. You pick the Quran, you couldn't see clarity on it. You pick the hadith, it's not clear. You are in doubt about that thing. Anything you are in doubt of, then stay clear of it. Stay away from it. That is what the hadith says. You cannot actually distinguish that this is white or this is black. Then stay away from that thing. So if we have that behind our mind, follow the sunnah of Rasulullah, then we will not be asking questions like the Israelites, who at the end of the day they transgress and they actually incur the wrath of God. May we not incur the wrath of Allah on ourselves. So we should be very, very careful. We should tread carefully. If in sincerity our prayers, our sacrifice, our worship is for Almighty Allah, if everything we're doing, if our act of worship and everything is for our ibadah is for Almighty Allah, then we should do it and tread carefully and don't ask jam questions and don't ask questions that are not supposed to be asked. If we know the answers to those questions. Because for me, we know answers to those questions. Why would you say you want to increase your buttocks? You want to increase your breast? You understand? That is also in the creation of Allah. It's under that category. And if your husband, like somebody said, if some husband demand because they see, the powder is not only for the women, for the women. Men too it's both men and women that Almighty Allah says, when you go out, lower your gaze. It's there in the Quran. Lower your gaze. So if you lower your gaze, how will you fall into temptation? Yeah, somebody asked a question. I recall one of the question and answer session with I think the fourth Khalifa or thereabout, that where in the Western world where you are busy lowering your gaze from somebody that is semi-naked, you run into somebody that's completely naked. But then the lowering of gaze is not just in the eyes, but it's in the mind as well. You lower your gaze both with your eyes and then with your mind. So I'm just appealing to all our sisters. Please, the Quran is very clear. Quran 33 verse 60, Quran 24 verse 32, and even the Uzur's take on it. Powder is something and the minimal powder you can do is you dress decently, loose garments, your outer gown should be loose. If you are not wearing anything to cover your tight-fitting clothes, then make sure whatever you are wearing is loose. That's jilbab. That's what the Quran says. That should be the outer garment. So when you go out with your jilbab, then your minimum powder, according to Uzu, is your hijab, leaving only your face open without the makeup and with no makeup. Don't do makeup. Some makeup are even appalling when you see them. Some people make up to the extent that you wonder whether you are looking at the masquerade or you are looking at a human being. And that makeup, at times, I would say is also the creation of Allah for me. Because sometimes by the time they finish putting their Mary Kay or foundation or whatever they use, they change completely the face of that person. You will hardly identify that person again. We should be very, very careful. And we should not transgress like the Israelites. The Almighty Allah bless whatever we have heard here today was we listen less time, and we should be guided. As Ahmadi Muslims, we should, as Muslims, we are the best example for the world, because the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has left the things and the Quran and it's a sunnah for us to follow. We have that and we are guided. And as Ahmadi Muslims, we are equally guided by the Khalifa. We're under the Khalifa. The promised Messiah said a lot of things on that. And then the Khalifa, we saw what was read to us by the lecturer in answering some of the questions about further. And that is necessary because we have new people that are coming in from other faiths, or people that are not Ahmadi before, or people that are not Muslims before, when they come to join. So they need to explain those things to them. I quite agree. But yes, in normal, I'm on the beginning here. And then let's be guided by the Quran, let's be guided by the Hadith. May Allah bless also. May He make today's program, and what we've heard today, may He make it a source of knowledge, a source of blessing, and a source of wisdom for us. May we benefit abundantly from the program we've heard today. I mean, let's recite Fatiha and to close the program. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ameen, ya Rabbal Alamin. Jazakumullah khairan to everybody for the participation. Jazakumullah khairan.
Barakallahu fihma. Thank you so much, man. Fi amanillahi, everybody. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika.
Wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Ameen. Jazakumullah khairan.
Barakallahu fi.
Barakallahu